So I finally got a chance to sit down and watch El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, and I was really excited for it because I just finished watching a show after like 2 months. I kind of feel bad for everybody else who had to wait like 6 years while I only had to wait like basically like a day or two. Breaking Bad as a show has really kind of became one of my favorite shows in the past month. I just think that it's really well crafted and how things that can happen in season one can affect things that happen in season five, and just the characters are really great. Now, before I start talking about El Camino, I'm just gonna say that there's gonna be spoilers for Breaking Bad, the show, because it's just kind of impossible to talk about it without mentioning some stuff that does happen in the show. So, yeah, spoiler alert. Even with that said, you should probably go watch the show. It's really, really great. I really recommend it to you. If you have a chance to check it out, check it out. But yeah, I'm gonna start talking about this now. So with that said, this movie talks about what happens to Jesse Pinkman after he escapes from Jack and his gang back in season five. So right off the bat, I'm just gonna say that this movie doesn't reach the highest highs of Breaking Bad, but it also doesn't reach the lowest lows. I think it's fine, but not as great as I thought it would be. This movie kind of takes this idea that could basically be shown in like a 5 minute sequence or something that would be interwoven in the ending credits for the finale of the show. So after watching this movie, just like thinking about it, it's just like you didn't really need this whole 2 hour runtime to tell the story. It could have just been interwoven into the ending credits, just showing you where he's gonna go now and what's the full end for Jesse Pinkman. Like throughout the movie, I didn't really feel it really take off. It just felt like things were happening and it was just kind of moving along. So basically, it was just kind of like lacking the urgency that the Breaking Bad had. For the villain in this movie, it didn't really feel like villains at all. It just felt like a small obstacle for Jesse. Like he could just overcome it like really easily. It didn't really feel impactful. It just kind of happened again, just like what I was saying earlier. Like they didn't reach like the highs of like Gus Fring or Tuco or Hector Salamanca or any of them. They just like you don't even remember their names after watching it. It's like they're really just kind of bland. For the villains from the show, like you actually kind of felt bad for them at times, whereas these guys, they're just criminals. Like they're not really that big of a deal. They almost feel like henchmen for a bigger boss, but they're not. And that's really what I have to say for the cons of this movie. For the rest of it, it's good. Like Aaron Paul coming back as Jesse was really nice to see. He brought a really great performance, almost showing this vulnerable and PTSD affected Jesse, which is actually kind of sad to see. And I think that it might be possible for him to get an Emmy or at least get nominated because I think he sold the vulnerability really well in some certain scenes. Some really emotional scenes that might actually even get a tear from some people. And those are mostly my flaws. Like everything else, I think is pretty good. I think Aaron Paul reprising his role as Jesse Pinkman was probably the biggest plus for this movie. He was able to sell a vulnerable and almost PTSD affected version of Jesse after his time of being with Jack and the gang. Throughout the movie, you could tell that this guy is like legit broken and just hasn't been out in the real world for a while. And Aaron Paul did a great job showing that, and I do think that he has a chance of winning the Emmy this year, but I can't be sure. And Vince Gilligan was able to come back and write and direct this movie, and there are some shots that are pretty good throughout the movie. You're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And there are some shots, some overhead shots that just showcase like this whole house to make it almost like a dollhouse or like a playset, which is pretty cool. And along with that, there are some cameos from the show. Some people that you didn't expect to see, and some people that you did expect to see. And those were some nice additions to the movie. I think that the cameos actually help to close out Jesse's arc and make everything come full circle as he moves on and tries to get his dream ending in this movie. And talking about the ending, which I'm not going to go into spoilers too much, I did like it. I enjoyed how they closed out Jesse's story while also answering questions that you may have had from the show. And that's really all I have to say about El Camino. This movie is basically like an extended episode or an epilogue for Jesse. Overall, the movie did disappoint me in a way. I was just expecting something of like the Breaking Bad's highs, where some of those episodes are basically flawless, but this movie didn't really capture that. It just went for like a fine 2-hour movie that just ties up stuff that you might have had questions about from the show. Yeah, so basically cameos were nice. Aaron Paul back was really great. He gave a pretty good performance. Nice shots, but overall really kind of unnecessary and could have just been like a 5-minute thing at the end of the credits. Villains weren't really anything to write home about. And that's basically it. So I'm going to give El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, a 7 out of 10. Which is good, but not great, not bad. Just a little disappointing considering how great Breaking Bad was. And that's pretty much it. I don't really have much more to say. If you've seen the movie or Breaking Bad in general, let me know what you guys thought about it. Maybe what's your favorite episode or least favorite episode in the comments below. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.